What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for, yes, another album review for already another Ariana Grande album. This is her 5th overall and this one is titled Thank You Next. We got the lead single in the form of the title track. It broke streaming records, it debuted at number 1, as did the follow-up second official single 7 Rings, and fans worldwide were buzzing. The past few years have been extremely traumatic for Ariana Grande, whether it be almost getting married, her ex-boyfriend Mac Miller passing away September 7th of 2018, and the subsequent dissolving of her engagement with Pete, and of course, the fallout and the dealing with the PTSD from the bombing at her concert in Manchester and the guilt that I'm sure she's feeling. Keep in mind that any criticisms that I have today are against the music, and they're not attacking her as a person because, again, I cannot even fathom. The only real big positive that I can see here is that it's become kind of a goldmine, I think, for Ariana to write about, and that's why she's probably dropping another album already. We just got Sweetener in August of 2018, and we're already here at Thank You Next. We got the lead single, and I thought, okay, is she really doing an album, or is she just kind of blowing smoke? And here we are at album number 5. Whereas Sweetener was really all over the place with its dynamics, with some of the tracks being produced by Ilya and some of them, in fact many of them, being produced by Pharrell Williams, there was no sense of unity. But here with Thank You Next, I'm feeling cohesion, and that's such a relief to me because after hearing the first 2 singles, I skipped over Imagine until I actually heard the record, but 7 Rings and Thank You Next, I just didn't know where the sound was gonna go. But in terms of this record, you're gonna hear plenty of booming bass, a lot of rattling trap pop crossover style, which can get old, but also it fits a whole lot better than I thought it would. Much of this may be a far cry away from the best material that albums like Yours Truly and Dangerous Woman had to offer, but I do see this as a valid step up from Sweetener. This is an album that is darker, but it also has a little bit more backbone in the sense that it's not just the lead singles, it's not just the big tracks, there's actually deep cuts here, and in fact, I feel the deep cuts are better than the actual lead singles. I honestly feel a bit like a referee trying not to blow a huge call here because this is like the Super Bowl. I'm here, I'm seeing the plays roll out right in front of my eyes, and I'm not sure how to process them. I'm like, did I see everything? Did I hear everything that I could possibly hear? And it puts me a bit on edge. Thank You Next has a set of 12 songs that do flow pretty nicely into each other. It feels relatively condensed, 41 minutes just kind of breezes by. I can listen to this album over and over again, which is a good sign already. There are tracks that I obviously skip over, especially as I've gotten more repeated listens in, and I do like the confidence and the vulnerability that she shows, although I like it when it's genuine. You can tell when she's just flexing, and you can tell when she's actually pouring herself out there. There's a wide variety of producers used on Thank You Next, with Ilya and Max Martin being 2 recurring names that you'll notice in the credits. I think Ilya in particular, I struggle with him and his production style because it seems like he's very content and keen on replicating the sound and success of God Is a Woman, rattling off those trap hi-hats, laying it into a pop sound, but it seems to be missing overall on many of these cuts that do use a similar technique. It seems to be missing the elements that made God Is a Woman such a smash. To address the other elephant in the room for me, it's those sample-heavy intros, which may include voicemails from one of her best friends, or possibly other things like 2009 by her late boyfriend Mac Miller, After Laughter, a 60s soul tune. I get the appeal and why she wants certain cuts to fit in with the beginning of some of the songs, but it just gets old when I feel like half the songs in the track list open in that manner. In my head is the perfect note to start on because I do feel conflicted on it, and it's a good representation of how I feel about a good handful of the tracks, and it also grew on me, but there's elements that I don't like. I commend some of the deeper elements like the Cain and Abel references, and also how she ties in what is more than likely a portrait of Pete that she wanted to paint. She saw what she wanted to see and she believed what she wanted to believe, but it ended up being too good to be true, as we all know at this point. There's a great vocal melody leading into the choruses. It's extremely enjoyable, but then you get that pre-chorus drop and you get the skirt, skirt, and it's the hardest I've cringed since probably my first play of Seven Rings. Seven Rings, dear fucking lord, it's still trash. It's really atrocious, and I also noticed this time around the claim that she, quote, writes what she sings. Girl, the credits section of really every album and song that you've released to date would give a hard disagree to that, because I know you ain't the only one out there writing your own tracks. It's a tacky, tasteless, braggadocious, wannabe, try-hard anthem that tries and fails. It really has nothing unique to offer, and that's another problem that I do notice in places. It's not overwhelming, it's mainly just all compiled into this one trashy track, because she jacks flows, she tries to replicate other sounds, and even though she's influenced by other production styles, her producers are at the very least, on much of Thank You Next, this one track in particular just really stands out in a very egregious way. NASA, however, grew on me a lot. N-A-S-A, that's the spelling there. It is ridiculously catchy. That chorus is so much fun to listen to. It just lightens you up. It makes you want to move a little bit. It gets my white boy senses tingling. I need to get on a dance floor. Fake Smile offers this soulful, carefree vibe in a song that shows very intense emotion. I don't really think it's groundbreaking necessarily, but I do think it's one of the most unique on the album, and that's kind of what gives it an irresistible charm. The section of the record that has a three-peat, Bad Idea, Makeup, and Ghostin is the best section hands down on Thank You Next. Just try and change my mind. Bad Idea rules the listener, from its opening choppy looped guitar to the mysterious allure and melody that she provides that keeps the repeat plays coming. I also really like that Grande sings about this lover here and how she's having this bad idea to call him over, and she's trying to kill off the pain or the guilt of something else in her life, maybe a past relationship, all of the demons that still haunt her. And then she gives that false stop where you think the song ends, and then the producers bring the beat back, and it really just rides out in a bombastic way that I cannot help but sway to. This is the best song on the album. Ghostin would like to have a word with us also, but we'll hold the phone for just a second. Sandwiched in between and not to be forgotten is Make Up, which is probably Ariana's best vocal performance on the album. I mean, if not the best, it is most definitely up there, because that, alongside the backing vocals and those chiming bright instrumentations that are used to really highlight and accent the background, and I love the stuttered backing vocals, it's all really just a work of magic, and it's a great pop showdown. Before we get to Ghostin', I do want to call to mind a couple of other tunes. I already talked about in a track review, Thank You Next, the title track, but in case you missed my thoughts there, it's a solid pop jam that has a crystal clean chorus that I do get stuck in my head quite often, but in a way, it almost feels a little bit cheap and kind of forgettable. It's like, I know this was assembled kind of quickly, this album feels rushed in many ways, but I also can't deny the power of that hook. Needy was a fantastic cut that was stuck near the beginning of the record. We get that right after Imagine, which I'm very torn on because I do like the vocals in places on Imagine, but then you get the Imagine, where she just really enunciates and hits with the hammer over and over again, the Imagine, and it sounds like somebody is just forcing it out of her, and it's like, girl, calm down. Hey, but Needy though, that's a great one. I love the slower pace and also the meticulously crafted lyrics. I love when she pays attention to the songwriting on this record, and that's what makes this one win, and also why I love Ghostin' so damn much. Ghostin' shows this heightened emotion and sorrow over wanting to be with somebody else and also feeling the guilt of that relationship, wanting to be elsewhere, but knowing that this person that she's with now, this guy doesn't deserve that. There's washed out synthesizers that create a tense atmosphere, and it's well written, and like I mentioned, I love it when she pays attention more so to the lyrics on this record instead of just trying to write a cheap hook or something that's going to get stuck in your head. This gets stuck in my head because there's actually something else there to offer me as the listener. It's tender but stern, caring but also saying we maybe need to let off the gas pedal here because I have commitments elsewhere or else my baggage, it's not allowing me to move on, so I'm not going to keep you tied up. You thought I was gonna leave without talking about break up with your girlfriend. You're wrong. Break up with your girlfriend, I'm bored might sound like the title of a country song if you changed girlfriend with boyfriend and put her in some flannel like BB Rexa and the Florida Georgia Line collab, but that's not what this is. In fact, she changed out the last track on the album, which was supposedly dedicated to Mac Miller, and put something a little bit more fun because she decided she wasn't ready to share that other track with the world. I can respect that decision, but again, this one feels a little bit trashier. It's like the last 3 songs here are actually legitimately the 3 singles that she dropped, the 3 official singles before the album came out, and all 3 of them kind of have this more snide and snarky tone, and I don't care for it. I do think this is the best out of the 3. It's fun to listen to, and I do like how just apathetic she almost sounds when she's talking about saying, like, you can hit it in the morning, pretend that it's yours, everything like that, but there's a part of me that says, I don't think this would fly if it was the other way around and we swapped the genders. Sweetener certainly had the better smash singles with Breathin', God is a Woman, and My Goodness, still love it, no tears left to cry, but Thank You Next, it has more of the resilience when it comes to the deep cuts, and as a result, it makes it the more superior album. I don't think that much of it is really all that groundbreaking in any ways, but I certainly get the appeal. Outside of you, 7 Rings,
burn in the fires of Mordor, you piece of monstrous trash.
We're coming back down over here. Overall, I'm going to rate Thank You Next by Ariana Grande, her 5th studio album, a 3.5 out of 5. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. I'm certainly surprised because after 7 Rings, I truly didn't expect this album to really be anything that I'm interested in at all. But here we are with a bunch of pop smashes and a few other tunes that I see myself coming back to in the future. Don't forget to check out my commentary video where I roast the worst Beats product placements and music videos. You can see that right here, or tap here for my top 10 favorite Ariana Grande songs, which is still accurate at the time of recording this video. Connect with me on social media at the links that you see down below. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out when I upload, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.